This is Joy News Prime.
This is Joy News Prime, broadcasting from Fanofa to the whole wide world on the World Wide Web. The bulletin is also available to viewers across Europe on ABN television. My name is Israel Laye. In this edition, New Patriotic Party pulls off massive demonstration in Accra. It says it's aimed at forcing a solution to the country's energy crisis from government. By the governing National Democratic Party, National Democratic Congress, says the NPP should rather be blamed for doing very little to solve the crisis during their time in office. The state is to continue the prosecution of rape charges against entertainment icon Kwesi Dakwa when the case reopens at the High Court on March 18. Pressure group Occupy Ghana asked Auditor General to investigate unauthorized expenditure of nearly $2 million on luxury vehicles and sanction all persons found culpable. And a police officer was hailed this morning by onlookers at an accident scene for his selfless efforts to help rescue an accident victim who was trapped in the wreckage. We also have sports, business and international news all coming up in the next 60 minutes. To stay tuned. The very first story, pressure group Occupy Ghana is on the case of the Auditor General once again. The pressure group this time wants him to investigate the unauthorized expenditure on luxury vehicles by the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum and surcharge those found culpable. It follows the publication of an audit report presented to Parliament indicating that the ministry spent about $1.7 million on 38 luxury vehicles as part of a multi-donor budgetary support, an expense the report says was not budgeted for. The amount used for the purchase of the vehicles was part of a $350 million U.S. Exim Bank facility meant for extending electricity to 1,200 communities. Speaking on Joy FM Super Morning Show, lawyer and member of Occupy Ghana, Ankoma, said the ministry must come out with evidence of Parliament's approval of the purchase of the luxury vehicles.
Voted in place says that you cannot spend our money unless it has been properly and duly approved by Parliament. Where is the approval? The Auditor General has not found it. If the ministry has the approval anywhere else, the ministry should show to us a line item which says that you are going to acquire these things for whatever price. That doesn't exist. I've just read to you the Auditor General's summary of how the $350 million was supposed to be used. Unless we are going to be told that these were contingent, then there's a problem. We should hear better from the Ministry of Energy. Where is the authorization? And if the authorization exists, why does the Auditor General say that it is not properly and duly authorized?
Now, though the Energy Ministry maintains that the purchase of the vehicles was approved by Parliament, contrary to what the Auditor General has said in their reports, the ministry is yet to provide evidence to back their position. It however released a statement in which it says its hands were virtually tied as far as the agreement for the facility was concerned. The statement signed by the head of communications at the Ministry of Power, Edward Barr, explains that the wealthy Lamont Associates Self-Help Electrification Project was a sole source U.S. Exim facility agreement approved by both the Executive and Parliament in August 2008, which required that 85% of all project-related materials, including vehicles, must be procured from manufacturers in the United States of America. It said the vehicles which were negotiated as part of the project prior to 2009 were delivered in 2010. That in early 2009, when the new Minister of Energy assumed office, he carried out a value for money audit as a condition precedent for contract effectiveness, as a result of which the price of the materials was reviewed downwards, leading to savings of $46 million US. It concluded that though originally the project was intended to benefit 1,200 communities, the value for money audit in 2009 and reduction in scope of work in some communities, among others, ensured that 2,130 communities in Ashanti, Brahafo, Western and Central regions are going to benefit. Now, the alleged rape case against Kwesi Dakwa, the entertainment icon, Probably known as KKD, will now be heard at the High Court. The decision was taken after submissions from his lawyers on Wednesday based on the statement of fact and a bill of indictment. KKD has been charged with the rape of a 19-year-old lady in December last year. Though the lady has said she will not cooperate with the prosecution, the state is going ahead with a full trial. Anu Sabote, who was at the District Magistrate Court for Joy News, says the case will be heard at the High Court on March 18.
Okay, Israel, today is something interesting happening in courts because the state says that it is determined to see through the case. So essentially what is going to happen is that they're moving the case to the High Court for committal proceedings, which took place today. But however, Tony Forson, who is the lawyer for KKD, when he rose to his feet to make his argument, talked about the fact that first and foremost, if you look at the PW1, that's the prosecution witness, in this case, the victim called Ms. Erefio Lenz, she wrote to the Attorney General, she copied the court.
Right, we're taking a quick break. We'll be back with you shortly. Now, we do apologize for prematurely truncating that video insert there. So we return to that earlier story about the alleged rape case against Kwesi Cheidakwa, popularly known as KKD, which will now be heard at the High Court. The decision was taken after submissions from his lawyers on Wednesday based on the statement of facts and a bill of indictment. KKD has been charged with the rape of a 19-year-old lady in December last year. Though the lady has said she will not cooperate with the prosecution, the state is going ahead with a full trial. Anu Sabote, who was at the District Magistrate Court for Joy News, says the rape case will be heard at the High Court on March 18.
Okay, Israel, today is something interesting happening in courts because the state says that it is determined to see through the case. So essentially what is going to happen is that they're moving the case to the High Court for committal proceedings, which took place today. But however, Tony Forson, who is the lawyer for KKD, when he rose to his feet to make his argument, talked about the fact that first and foremost, if you look at the PW1, that's the prosecution witness, in this case, the victim called Ms. Erefio Lenz, she wrote to the Attorney General, she copied the court, she copied the police, that she was no longer interested in the case, and she will not cooperate with the police in their investigations. And that nullifies the whole process there. However, the state said, well, they have enough evidence to go ahead with the case. So today, Tony Forson said that, look, if the key witness says that she's no longer interested, on what grounds are you going to prosecute the case? Today, for example, KKD was in a very positive mood because I think from the way his lawyer argued the case and the references that he cited to sort of argue his case out, he realized that, they are more or less on a solid foundation. So essentially, we are going to the court, the High Court on the 18th of March. So on the 18th of March, the heart of the case itself will be opened and dissected, and every single element will be brought out. That is where the cross-examination is going to take place, if indeed witnesses are to be called and all of those things. And that is where the interesting bit of the whole case itself is going to take place. Well, I think it's going to be interesting because, the various dynamics have been looked at already in terms of the fact that the key witness in this particular case said she's no longer interested. Already there are people talking about whether or not the state is going to treat this woman as a hostile witness. Will that happen? I'll be very much interested in seeing how that pans out.
Now, scores of Ghanaians, mostly supporters and sympathizers of the opposition New Patriotic Party, hit the streets of Accra on Wednesday to register their displeasure at the current electricity crisis that is crippling many businesses and inconveniencing many Ghanaians. The demonstration, Christian Wongbo, is one of many demonstrations the party has lined up across the country to force a solution to the crisis from government. Derek Eko-Sam was there for Joy News.
Wongbo is a Ghan word which means we are dying, and that was the sentiment expressed by the demonstrators, mainly sympathizers of the New Patriotic Party. From 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., the demonstrators, clad in red and black, to indicate their distress, marched through the principal streets of Accra to ask for solutions to the litany of problems the country faces, with the current power crisis being the biggest of them. demonstrate?
This signifies how angry we are. Everybody in this country called Ghana is angry. We are angry because it appears the NDC have taken us for a cheap ride. I have, because one, I have a business that has collapsed. My business, and sometimes, look, I have never seen any country where electricity is on at 1 a.m., 2 a.m. By 5 o'clock it is off. And therefore it means that all of us who are doing our businesses by the day cannot have electricity, to help us in our businesses.
The Greater Accra Regional Chairman of the New Patriotic Party, Ishmael Ashiti, promised a peaceful march. And peaceful it was until the demonstrators decided to use an unapproved route, the Central Business District. To forestall any altercations with the demonstrators, the Ghana Police Service gave in and allowed them to have their way. But were the demonstrators satisfied after their more than 5 hours march?
Yes. When you speak, he said you should bring a solution. You are governing the country. If you don't have any solution, you should get up for somebody to come and give a good solution for us to be free, because we are suffering. Mothers, we can't pay our children's school fees. Everything has become bazaar. So we should we are telling Don Muhammad that we are fed up.
When you let the government know the actual thing you are facing, with this government people, they have generators, and even certain areas where they live, they hardly do they off their lights. They don't feel what we do, you understand? So I believe that if we demonstrate to them, they will.
I say them because I'm also Ghanaian. The doom so is also affecting me. Affecting me, but I'm a student. I don't even get light to the Indian nights. I don't get light to iron my things. I've been in darkness for 3 days.
The rank and file of the NPP, made up of the flag bearer and vice presidential candidate, were all present at the event. And it was placards, and more placards. Derek Aposam for Joy News.
The flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party, Nana Akufo-Addo, in brief remarks to the demonstrators, called on President Mahama to review his policies as they have not been helpful in addressing the country's problems.
The president has vowed not to listen to the plight of the people, but the people will listen to us.
The battle is the law, and the battle continues to be that of the law. And there we put our trust in the Almighty.
The law should save our country. The president should listen to the people and change his governing style.
Now, still on the demonstration, there were only 2 New Patriotic Party MPs representing their party in Parliament, as most of their colleagues joined the Wongbo demonstration. The one-sided chamber, however, went ahead to consider the business of the House with the customs bill set for passage after a second reading in Parliament. Joy News' Elton John Brobe reports that only the chairman of the Public Accounts Committee, Kweku Ajamamenu, and Kwabena Tinkrang were sitting in Wednesday's session. Speaker of Parliament Doja, however, said he was not surprised the minority MPs were absent because the minority leader of HMM Sambonsu sought permission to stay away. Now, in a related development, Power Minister Dr. Kwabena Donko, who was in Parliament, has downplayed the protest by the NPP. In an interview with parliamentary correspondent Elton John Brobe, he described the demonstration as a right to exercise by the NPP he says will ensure the country has a healthy population. Dr. Kwabena Donko, however, says he remains focused to deliver on his commitment to end the power crisis.
Appreciate their right to go and exercise, especially the more they exercise, the healthier they become, and it's good for the it's good for the country. We have a healthy population. That is their right. They have the right to exercise, but my responsibility is to provide the solutions that I am working on. That I remain focused, and that by the grace of God I will deliver. I'm not sure they are interested in knowing what measures are being put in place. I'm not sure, because if they were interested, they could have used any of the parliamentary channels to find out what we're doing. They are interested in, yes, political opposition. They are interested in milking the situation for political gains. I can understand them. If the reason for the demonstration is altruistic, at least they have a significant presence in Parliament. They could use the parliamentary route to find out from the minister what is it government is doing. Well, I've told the country what I'm doing. It is their right to refuse to hear, and therefore try and mark the situation. Political opportunism is not new, and if that is what serves their interests, so be it. We are in a democratic country. As I said, they have a right to exercise.
The National Democratic Congress has also accused the NPP of being totally bereft of ideas to help solve the country's energy crisis. National organizer of the party, Kofi Adams, questioned the rationale behind the Wongbo demonstration, claiming that the NPP was partly responsible for the current situation, having failed to address the problem during their time in office.
Deputy Communications Director of the NDC, Fred Agbenyon, first outlined some measures being put in place by government to solve the power crisis.
Among the measures outlined to address the problem are the fixing of the broken down equipment, works which are far advanced, the provision of emergency power plants, the acceleration of ongoing work to bring on stream new thermal plants started a few years ago. Remember the Bon Thermal Power Plant, the T2, the Aboise one that is supposed to give us 250 megawatts of electricity, and the initiation of additional thermal plants to add over 3,000 megawatts to our generation capacity. And I'm talking about the SEN, the GE, the Amadi, the Japsen, the Clean Cool one, and others that we are building.
Fred Agbenyon later accused the NPP of double standards, noting that the party had failed to provide government with solutions to solve the energy crisis, despite several invitations extended to them.
The expectation of all Ghanaians would have been that Nana Akufo-Addo and his NPP, when they thought it necessary to intervene in the discussion, would focus on the proposal and submission of clear alternative measures to those put forward by governments. Rather, they choose to cement the widely held notion that the NPP, as presently constituted, is totally bereft of any new ideas and suffers a chronic inability to advance alternatives to government policies. Instead of coming to the table with credible alternatives, they have chosen the cheap option by harvesting the genuine public sentiment over the electricity situation for petty partisan gain.
National organizer of the party, Kofi Adams, then laid the blame at the doorstep of the NPP.
Why demonstrate against something you contributed significantly to putting us in? And like we kept asking the NPP, give us any alternative that you think this government is not doing today to deal with the problem, or give us something that you did different, or that you did so well when you had 8 years. Don't forget that if we seriously even want to go back and add everything, this is a government that have not had the same time as the previous administration. But if you look at the levels of additions, the number of signings, and the commitment to long-term energy solution, then they cannot really match us. That is why we are surprised.
He expressed optimism that the interventions being put in place by President John Mahama to solve the energy crisis will yield positive results.
Organizers of the New Patriotic Party-led Wangbo demonstration had hoped to have a lot more people pouring out onto the streets, considering the power crisis affects everyone. Some of the organizers had projected protesters in the hundreds of thousands, but there were not as much, even though the numbers were still impressive. Out there on the streets, we got a few people to say, why did you not join, even though they were in support?
I'm the only person in my shop. If you go, you know, I have to come and open it. We are 3 here. I'll leave it to one person to take care. Then I went to the food. Immediately I came the morning, I went there to experience it with my naked eyes. Then I came back and opened my shop.
But it's necessary. You understand? But if I go over here and somebody wants the food to buy.
We're taking a break. We have more stories coming up. Don't go away. The police station at Estresso Timpong in the Ashanti region has been closed indefinitely. It follows an attack on the station in the Yinehin district by angry residents. The residents are said to have attacked the place after a quarrel between the youth and two sons of the chief inspector, in which a man was stabbed in the stomach. Ashanti Regional Police Public Relations Officer Yusuf Tanko says police personnel who man the station have been relocated for their own safety and that a nearby district command will patrol the community for now. He spoke to Joy News via phone earlier.
Police station has been taken out following the disturbance that led to the burning down of part of the police station. We have the Yinehin district that is very close to the area that is taking an eye to that particular community. Meanwhile, we are at the heels of the troublemakers, get them arrested and then prosecuted so that the community will experience relative peace. What we are telling you is that the police station has been closed down indefinitely. Okay. And even that police station was established very recently, when DCOP Mr. Bugwati came to town as the regional commander. So before, they didn't have a police station. It was the Hinehini police that was taking care of that area. And we cannot also risk the lives of the police persons who were working at the place. That is why they have been withdrawn from the place and the police station closed. So the Hinehini district will still have oversight responsibility of the place till such a time that we think it is safe for the reopening of the police station.
The National Development Planning Commission has summoned the Driver, Vehicle and Licensing Authority to appear and explain circumstances surrounding the backlog in the issuance of driver's licenses. The DVLA has for 6 months now been unable to print licenses for prospective drivers because it says its printing machines have broken down. The Director of Driver Training, Testing and Licensing of the DVLA, C.W. Musa, is quoted in the media saying the authority is facing difficulty acquiring the spare parts to get the machines fixed. But MP for Bekwai and former CEO of the DVLA, Joe Sewusu, says he suspects there is more to the challenge at the DVLA than a printing machine problem.
No, over the period we worked with them, it was fine. Well, I recall that within 1 year, I think, into the operations of the contract, Photoes came to make some demands that we should pay for some consumables. We declined, insisting that under the contract, we are not liable to pay for anything else. The total cost of the production of the entire chain up to the end of 2000 and the 6-year period from 2006, which would be 2012, had been worked out and programmed into the cost of license per applicant. So at the end of the period, we would have finished paying for everything. So asking for payment for consumers would not be justified under the contract. So that was up to the period. We refused to pay. When I resigned, I understand that he went back to the board to make the same demands. When I was no longer, the board invited me, and we all took the contract and went through together. They found that there was no justification for paying. So.
But afterwards,
I've
some
learned.
monies, were paid to them.
I've heard so that some monies have been paid. The same thing that we had refused to pay had been paid. And I'm told it's one of the
subjects for investigation of the serious fraud offense.
I am renewing my license. What I've been given is August 2015. Would I get my normal license after that date, the date they've given me?
I pray you do, because the matter has become such a huge challenge. I met the chairman of the National Development Commission, yes.
Planning Commission.
National Development Planning Commission, and he was not happy. He asked me, Joe, what is happening at your place? And said they had invited DVLA management to come and meet with them. I'm sure it is raising so much concern that people from different places are asking DVLA to put it us together.
The chiefs and people of Mori in the Asebu Kwamang district of the Central Region want government to complete projects started there. They have also requested that the Microfinance and Small Loan Center come to the aid of the town's highly industrious women with soft loans to boost their businesses. From the Central Region, Gifty Andwapia reports.
Mori is a small town in the Abra Asebu Kwamankese district in the Central Region with a population of mainly fisher folk. Like many parts of the country, they lag behind in infrastructural development. Their pressing issues include access to potable water, which they say has worsened since August last year.
We can't get water to drink in this place. Children are being run over by vehicles whilst they go in search for water.
The only senior high school in this town was taken over by government 2 years ago, but lacks the necessary infrastructure. The clinic here can barely meet their growing health needs, and 2 students are said to have died after they were transported to Cape Coast when they fell sick. Mori's women are known to be more successful at providing for the family. Nana Kweja, the 7th, at the news conference, said government's loan initiative, the Microfinance and Small Loans Center, MASLOC, which is aimed at supporting local businesses, could do a lot more for Mori's women.
The women in this town are mainly fisher folks. They need help. Redirect MASLOC to the women in this town. They are the ones putting their walls through school. How do we continue without the necessary financial support?
Wednesday's news conference, according to them, was to applaud government for the roads and other projects it has started there and to ensure they are completed.
1983. This hospital was opened in 1983. We are urging government to upgrade it for the people. We are grateful for constructing our roads, but they have to be tarred. The dust is killing us. Our fisher folks need a landing site urgently.
The people, meanwhile, have high hopes that being the maternal hometown of the country's Vice President Kwesi Bekwai Emisa Arthur, their concerns will get favorable hearing. Gifty Andwapia, Joy News, Moray, Central Region.
Right, up next we bring you business with Abigail Adoma-Koinchi.
So a lot has been happening in Ghana today. The Wongbo demonstration, it has happened today, and in business, the MPC met and decided, and today we are bringing you their decision. My name is Abigail Adumakwentri, and here is where I bring you all updates in business. We'll start with the MPC, and the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank has maintained the rate at which it lends to commercial banks at 21%. This means if you are servicing or planning to service a bank loan at a non-fixed rate, you could expect the interest rate to stay the same, even though it does not really work that way in practice. The MPC's decision follows a balanced outlook for inflation and growth in anticipation of an IMF program officials are setting will be signed off soon. PC revealed that the Bank of Ghana's Composite Index of Economic Activity (CIEA) recorded a growth of 7.9% year-on-year in the fourth quarter of 2014, compared with a growth of 6% for the same period last year. The overall Consumer Confidence Index increased to 89.9 in December 2014, up from 85.6 recorded in October 2014. The Business Confidence Index also moved up to 99.2 in December 2014 from 88.7 in September.
The committee observed that there was a pickup in the CIA during the last quarter of 2014, boosted by a number of factors, including DMB's credit to the private sector, SNIT contributions, and port activity. And you know, if you would realize, for the most of last year, it has been declining. The first increase we saw was in November when we did the last one. And I think a significant factor has been the stability in the forex that we saw during the last quarter of the year. And perhaps that also carry on into this year. I agree with you. If you look at what is happening in the energy sector and so on, it appears some questions were asked during our discussions ourselves, but this is the data that we get from the field. We have not changed the methodology of administering it.
The committee, among others, insists inflation remains on a downward trend, hence a decision to maintain the monetary policy rate at 21%.
The risk to the growth outlook remained tilted to the downside due to the challenges in the energy sector, expected fiscal consolidation, a tight monetary policy stance, and the adverse effects of lower international commodity prices, particularly crude oil. These are expected to be offset by a pickup in consumer and business sentiments, strong growth in real credit to the private sector, addition of the Atuabo gas processing plant, and the IMF deal, which will underpin investor confidence. The pass-through effects of the falling crude oil prices, declining inflation expectations, the ongoing fiscal consolidation, and a possible program with the fund are expected to exert some downward pressure on inflation and drive inflation further down towards the target band. In view of the foregoing, the committee judged the risks to the inflation and growth outlook as balanced, and therefore maintained the policy rate at 21%.
The central bank also took into consideration the impact of the falling oil prices on the country's reserves, as Ghana stands to gain between $300 to $500 million if the prices remain around $52 per barrel. Gross international reserves, meanwhile, stood at $4.9 billion at the end of January 2015, representing 2.9 months of imports, unchanged compared to the same period in 2014. Abigail Adumakwentri for Joy News. The Bank of Ghana again has downplayed criticisms that government's borrowing is getting out of hand. There have been concerns that at the rates the debts are mounting, Ghana will be spending unsustainable amounts of its tax revenue to pay interest, leaving nothing for development projects. And figures released by the central bank at Wednesday's MPC news conference meeting put the total public debt at 76.1 billion Ghana cedis at the end of 2014, up from 51.9 billion cedis at the end of December 2013. And government spending also amounted to 23.6% of GDP, slightly above the outlay of 23.2% of GDP for 2013. The central bank, however, says government has very few options at the moment. Take a listen.
the fiscal consolidation is taking place is to control the growth of the debt stock, or even if not the stock, the GDP, debt to GDP ratio, which is really the measure we should be looking at. And I think the first step you need to do in getting there is to reduce your deficit, and that clearly is what was outlined in the budget, where we have a deficit profile from 6.5 this year, 6.5% of GDP this year, to around 3% by the end of 2017. So I think that those are steps that have been taken. The issue of the debt is acknowledged by government, and steps have been taken. There are even debt management strategies that are being looked at, including restructuring some of the debt, and so on, to ensure that the servicing will not be too much of a burden. I don't agree that federal borrowing should be suspended, because that will mean that government has to balance its budget. I'm not sure as at this time that is a possibility. I think the issue is reducing the deficit gradually. It may happen later if that we could balance the budget, but we are coming last year. I think the preliminary figure is around more than 9% of GDP. That's not confirmed yet, but it's about more than 9% of GDP. You can't come from 9% of GDP to 0%. There has to be a gradual adjustment. So a 3% adjustment will send you to around 6.5%, and then further down. And I think that's the way to go.
I have some good news for you. Prices of petroleum products at the pumps will be kept unchanged for at least the next 3 months. According to the National Petroleum Authority, this is one of the measures it is taking to ensure consumers benefit from the recent low price of crude oil. The NPA has so far resisted pressure to reduce prices at the pumps to reflect the global situation, but Chief Executive Moses Asare tells Joy Business this is because the authority intends to hold pump prices so long as the world market price does not go beyond $70 a barrel. Moses Asare says the price stability could even extend to 6 months if other factors also remain favorable. In a related development, government is planning to spend about $15 million to hedge petroleum products imported into the country. The program is expected to start in March and last for about a year. Government is hoping to hold the price at $700 per metric ton for diesel and petrol. Now let's get some details on the IMF program. Call it make or break negotiations with the IMF, and you might not be wrong. This is what Joy Business has picked from persons close to talks with the Washington-based lender. The IMF team working on Ghana's program is in town to open what many are describing as the final round of talks for the program. The following report identifies some issues expected to come up as the negotiations formally open tomorrow. Many government hopes to secure a program by April hinges on the progress that will be made during this week's negotiations. This is because for Ghana's program to be considered by the board of the IMF in April, negotiations must be sealed now for the necessary scrutiny to be done by the staff before it is forwarded to the board. For some, the team's visit has been necessitated by concerns that government is not doing much to fast-track the process on issues raised about the economy before a deal is closed. Some of the issues Joy Business gathers could come up in the talks are the progress made in cleaning up the payroll, measures instituted to check rising public debt and government expenditure. For some analysts, any delay in securing an IMF program could result in the Ghana cedi depreciating again against the US dollar, mainly because some investors are said to be holding on to their capital until negotiations on an IMF program are closed. Meanwhile, the IMF technical team has been in Ghana since Monday, engaging other government officials including the Bank of Ghana on technical support programs like revenue mobilization and the monetary policy. And that'll be all for business. I'm Abigail Adumakwenchi. Do stay on for more news.
Right, definitely we can do some news in the world of sports, and it's great news for Ghana football because GN Bank has officially been announced as headline sponsor of Division 1 League. The league, which will now be referred to as the GN Bank Division 1 League, is set to begin over the weekend across the country. The sponsorship package, worth about $2.1 million, is for 3 years and will be paid in 3 tranches. An amount of 600 Ghana cedis will be paid in the first year, while 690,000 and 793,500 will be paid in subsequent years. Speaking at an event held to launch the league in Accra, GFA President Kwesi Nyantakyi expressed gratitude to the bank on behalf of the Division 1 League board and clubs, adding the sponsorship deal will help develop the second-tier league.
We are very, very excited about this deal, and we believe it will go a long way to develop the Division 1 League, which appears to have been neglected by the corporate community of this country. The GM Bank is also going to invest in television production and showing. Producing a football match involves a lot of money. It is equally expensive to have it on TV. And we are assured by the sponsor that it will underwrite the 2 costs. And so every week there will be a match of the week. And that match of the week will be selected by the sponsor in consultation with the Division 1 League Board. We will decide which match should be chosen. And so I would like to plead with you to cooperate with the Division 1 League Board and the sponsor so we can have a successful match of the week.
Now, Keto Kweku, who is president of the Division 1 club Dreams FC, explains the sponsorship will, to a large extent, reduce their financial burden.
We are happy that there is a corporate body in the stature of GN Bank coming into the football industry, because we believe that the financial industry or the banking industry is so huge. It's an industry that must be tapped in. And for us, for GN Bank to take the first step, it's a step in the right direction. For individual clubs, including my own club, Dreams FC, it means a little more resources come into our coffers. It means our players can rest their minds and expect their, so to say, coins coming through their bank accounts at the end of the month. It means that we are able to exert energy in other departments that we need, so that we're able to develop more talent.
All right, now time to talk about the UEFA Champions League, and 2 teams are once again in contention. Champions Real Madrid have a lot of work to do, really, but not only that, we could also talk about FC Basel, who are doing a fantastic job against 2004 champions FC Porto. So we'll be going into all of this, as well. Cristiano Ronaldo, who hasn't scored for 307 minutes, has managed to get the first goal for Real Madrid. So now into the details, right on the board then. We just find out what's happening. We'll first of all start with the game between Basel and FC Porto. A lot about this because Basel wanted to get it all happening, and they're leading FC Porto by 1-0. Is the man Derlis Gonzalez, who's got the goal for them. Remember, it's halftime though, so there's a lot of work in it for FC Basel to ensure they can keep the save in Switzerland. Now let's get into Germany and find out what's happening between Schalke 04 and Real Madrid. You probably might not want to know this, but Kevin Prince-Boateng is in the fray for Schalke 04, and they're losing by 1-0. It's Cristiano Ronaldo who's got the goal in there for Real Madrid. 1-0 for the champions, defending champions Real Madrid. We'll find out what happens. Remember that it's all about 45 minutes in the first half. We'll see what happens in the next half, just about rounding up what the Champions League is really all about. So that's just going to be it for tonight in terms of the UEFA Champions League and all it is. Next week will be another opportunity. For now, we'll end sports. My name is George Adde Jr. Israel will join us with some more. You have a good night.
The police sergeant was hailed as a hero at an accident scene in Pokwasi near Accra on Wednesday. This was after he had used his wit and sheer determination to help rescue a driver who had been trapped in his truck for more than 2 hours. Gladys Osei was at the scene of the accident and saw it all play out, including a fight between another police officer and a bystander.
2 hours after the accident, onlookers became frustrated with the inability of the emergency services to rescue the driver who was trapped in his truck. This police sergeant at the Amasaman division of the MTTU was the first security respondent to arrive at the accident scene. He worked with such determination and ingenuity towards the rescue of the driver of the trailer, earning the admiration of onlookers. It appeared to be a difficult task, even for the fire service, but nothing would deter him. Apparently, everyone at the accident scene had noticed his diligence. Amid loud applause, the sergeant was carried shoulder high by onlookers. But the moment of jubilation was nearly mad when one of the onlookers, still unhappy with the delay in rescuing the driver, pounced on a police officer. Commander of the Amasaman MTTU, ASP Amwako Buensi, condemned the attack.
Well, it's unfortunate. I didn't expect that to happen, but it has already happened, and we will deal with him accordingly. He has been arrested and sent to the police station.
Demonstrating an intense passion for his job, our heroic police officer left the scene of the scuffle and headed to a different duty post. On my way to the office, I saw the same sergeant again, this time directing traffic.
Right, a lot of commendation to that police officer. That's it for the bulletin. Before we go, do a quick run through our top stories. The New Patriotic Party today pulled off a massive demonstration in Accra. It says it's aimed at forcing a solution to the country's energy crisis from government. But the governing National Democratic Congress says the NPP should rather be blamed for doing very little to solve the crisis during their time in office. And the state is to continue prosecution of the rape charges against entertainment icon Petiche Dakwa when the case reopens at the High Court on March 18th. That'll be all for the bulletin. My name is Israelite. Thank you very much for watching and have a good evening.
This is Joy News Prime.